Says we are now live. Cool, cool. Hey everybody, how is everybody doing tonight? Welcome back to Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom with my special guest tonight, Darcy, and she's gonna be telling us all about her Dogman encounter that she had and some sightings over the years after her encounters. So let's all welcome Darcy. Hi, Darcy. How you doing tonight?
Hey, doing good. How about you guys?
Good, good, good. Yeah, we're doing real good. I mean, this is a little different, Darcy, because I normally don't do my shows during the week because of work schedule and everything's so hectic. And Saturdays is when I really like to, do my shows. That's when I normally do them. But tonight, guys, just so everybody knows, I had to do it tonight because Darcy, her schedule is kind of weird, and she can't really do anything on the weekends. She works on the weekends, so that's why we had it
Yeah,
tonight.
12-hour shifts on the weekends. It's work, home, bed, and repeat.
Yes, yes, exactly. But like I said, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. I've seen a lot of people in here already. I think like maybe 10, 11 people. John Miller, Odessa, hi Odessa. Steve Riley, Christine Ann. There's Christine Ann. Darcy, the lady that I was talking to you about. She's a real
Oh,
good
yeah,
friend of
yeah.
mine. Yeah, she's in here already, so that's good. Who else? Al Sanariga, my good friend Abe Cias from Spiritual and Cryptid Encounters, and a whole bunch of other people. Oh yeah, I meant to give a special shout out tonight to a new friend that I made. He's got his own cryptid group or page. I'm not too sure. Um, his name is Shane Michael Crisp, and he runs his group or page, like I said, named West Coast Dogman Project. So everybody, please go over and subscribe to his group and show him some support. He's a great guy. I haven't really talked to him that much, but the little that we have talked, he's an awesome guy, and he likes to support um, our shows. Anthony Rocks, hey Anthony, Al Sanariga, Goomba. He's like our godfather, cryptic godfather within our cryptic community. Darcy,
I had a chance to talk with him
you
one
did
night for a little bit. He's a
awesome.
pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He's awesome. He's got so much knowledge. Wow. So okay, well, Darcy, can you start off with giving us a little bio on yourself, please?
I will do my best, guys. I apologize if I start stuttering. I
No,
get a little weird in
it's
front
okay.
of groups.
And I was wanting to mention too, also, Darcy. I'm sorry, but this is like your second interview, right?
Second interview,
Right.
first time live ever.
Right. Okay. Cool. 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 Yeah, because a couple of my friends were asking me if you had came out like on Vic's show or something. I was like, no. I think she only came out on one other show, which was what Cryptid Creatures, right?
Cryptic Creatures, right, with Brian Todd.
With Brian Todd, right, right.
Yeah.
And this would be like your second one. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. Sorry for that little interruption, but continue, please.
No worries. So I'm from southeastern Wisconsin, born and bred. Probably be here for the rest of my life. Uh, and as far as a little bit about myself, been dealing with the paranormal since I was a kid. I mean, from being a wee tot, I was sensitive to picking up on things. Um, it was in 1994 when I was in high school when I had my encounter that we'll get to in just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was part of a paranormal group for a little bit after I got on with adulthood and enjoyed 3 years with them, but decided I liked to sleep better because all their investigations were at night. So
Mm-hmm.
I kindly backed out, but we're on good terms. And, time ever permits, I might get back into investigating with them. They focused entirely on the paranormal Fortean side. We didn't get into cryptids at all, which was a little disappointing, but we still had a good time. Um, Spent 18 years as a professional dog groomer, so I'm used to canine diseases and that kind of thing that would cause hair loss or whatever. So when people see me saying "nah," I don't believe it. It's based off of actual learning. And Had an associate's degree in photography back when film was still a thing. um, don't know what else to say.
Well, did you go to like college or anything like that, or do you have any type of I don't know?
Yeah, the associate's degree was from a tech school.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
The grooming, actually, I went to a grooming school. Oh,
From school.
I'm also a Reiki practitioner, and I studied underneath a woman that did both the Reiki practitioner as well as animal communication and deepening your spiritual development, which
Hmm.
was really a awesome thing. I miss her; she was amazing. But life happens.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We grow up and we run out of things to do, right? Um,
Run out of things? Nah, I never run out of things to do.
no.
It's never enough time to do them.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Not enough time to do them. It's like it seems like the older you get, the faster time goes, doesn't it? Like
Oh,
I
absolutely.
remember when I was a young, kid. A summer lasted like a year to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as a teen, the years went by pretty, pretty amazing. You did a whole lot in a year, and now as an adult, like man, it's like you can't do nothing in a year. It's like it seems to me. It doesn't seem like 12 months. It seems like more like 6 months.
I feel like I blink and 2 years have passed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. And well, everybody, I'd like to give another special shout out tonight to Brad Kidd. I don't know if you know who that is, Darcy. Brad Kidd. He's an Australian. He's an Aussie. He's a well known researcher as well. He has his own group, and can't remember the name of it right now. It's a long name. That's why I can't remember. I think it's anything cryptid and UFOs and something like
Nice.
that. It's just real long. But yeah, today is his birthday. I didn't ask him how many years, but today's his birthday, and I talked to him earlier today, see if he wanted to, be here tonight on the show as a in the chat. But he said that it was his birthday and he was gonna be with some buddies and you really couldn't make it. So I said, no, that's fine, man. And happy
Well, in case
birthday.
he watches it later,
Yeah,
hey,
he's
well,
gonna
happy
watch it
birthday
later,
to you.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, he's gonna watch it definitely later. But I was just wanting to give him a shout out because a lot of people know him. Like a
Hey,
lot of people
Kim.
here in my group, a lot of people in the chat. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Well, I guess Darcy, we can go ahead and get started on like I guess take it back as far as you can, like when your encounter happened,
Okay.
and what led up to the encounter as well, if you
Okay.
could for
So
us.
basically, picking up from when I get to the scout camp, because that's when it really gets going.
Right.
So this is back in 1994. It was the only actual what I would classify as an encounter because everything else that I've experienced has been sightings when it comes to the cryptid kingdom. Uh, it was August. My going into my junior year, we were on a choir retreat for school. We were doing like trust building exercises, and then we were staying at a camp doing a little choir rehearsal. And at the end of the weekend, parents come pick us up. We do a little mini concert for them.
Hmm.
So after all the trust falls and whatever else that they had us doing, we get to the camp, grab a bite to eat, get settled in the cabins, come back to start choir practice. And about partway through the choir practice, they let us out. Of course, it's raining. And I'm the only one out there dancing in the rain. Everybody else thought I was crazy. They couldn't convince the fiance to come out with me. They're all just looking on. I'm like, okay, whatever. You guys suck. Um, and go in, finish the choir practice. We get out, and there's this most beautiful golden fog just like hugging everything. Warm gold fog. Have you ever heard of that before? I hadn't.
No, no, actually, I haven't. No.
Only time I've ever experienced it.
I've
But
heard I've heard of like whitish, bluish, greenish, but
sure.
never heard of yellow gold, like gold fog. No.
Well, I hope everybody gets to experience it because it was the coolest darn thing, and it was like being wrapped in a warm hug. It was really just an amazing experience. And as I'm looking around, I'm like, Does nobody else notice it? Because it's odd. You think they'd pay attention, but they're just doing their thing. Okay, whatever, brush it off. No big deal. Fast forward to that night. We just got done eating supper, and somebody decides to start up a bonfire. So the flames, they're looking like 6 or more feet in the air. I know it was taller than me, and I'm 5'8".
Mm-hmm.
And so we're sitting there. My fiance is to the right of me on a log. We've got the choir director and another chaperone, a few other kids from the choir group sitting there, and a couple others, dorking around, doing whatever, running around. I don't know if they were playing nighttime tag or what the hell they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm sitting there, kind of mesmerized by the flames, all of a sudden I kind of get that feeling. You hear or you feel your hair on your neck stand up. It's like you just keep expecting someone to reach out and grab you or try and spook you.
Mm-hmm.
And we had enough practical jokesters. That's really what I thought was going on. So I decided to just spin around to try and catch them, throw them off guard, and get them instead. There's no people behind me. And I'm looking, and a ways up the grassy bowl that we're in, there's a tree line.
Mm-hmm.
And later that following morning, I would find out that it's a pair of pine trees where I was actually seeing this thing. But all of a sudden, I see the light catching on something, a glint, and I'm looking and I'm realizing it's a pair of eyes staring back at me. It's it's not the self-illumination like so many people talk about in the other shows that I've listened to. It was just light bouncing off of eyeballs like you would see with your cat or your dog. Like that moist marbly look with the green, orange, yellow, red kind of color going on.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm sitting there staring at it a little bit longer, I'm realizing we got the outline of a wolf head. Pitch black. So black that light is not escaping it, which I can't explain because I've never seen anything that black before.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually there's some sort of reflection. And the head, it's got like these equilateral triangle ears, right? It's not the super pointy things like people describe. It's definitely more of a wolf ear. But as I'm staring at this thing, I'm realizing there's something wrong with the height. Even if it was a wolf coming through in an area that they're supposedly they didn't exist, which I know of them getting out of zoos when I was a kid. So I've never wrote off them not being in the area, just not being noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, that height's wrong. And I'm turning to my fiance and I'm going, you see that? He's like, yeah, I see it. And then at this time, I'm like, okay, he's placating me, right? Hold on, someone's got a question. Oh, shoot. You know what? I forgot to look up to see how far the camp was from Bray Road.
Mm-hmm.
Bray Road from where I lived at the time,
Mm-hmm.
is hour and a half, 2 hours drive for sure.
Oh, okay. That's pretty close then, right?
Considering I found out the kind of range these things have now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Back then I thought I'd be safe being that far away, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyhow. So I think he's placating me. But, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting the sensation like this thing's stalking me. It's just watching, right? Like a curious watching. So, okay, I'm not going to freak out quite yet. But throughout the course of, could have been an hour, could have been 2 hours. Certainly the fire had burnt itself down a little bit by the time I actually got up to go. But as I'm looking back, if I don't look back for a while, it's out of the tree line a little bit more, so I can make out more detail to see, yeah, this thing really is taller than what it should be, even for a wolf racing against a tree, you know. Um, but yeah, if I'm turning back around a little bit more to look more frequently, it's like backed up into the wood line more to make it harder. So it's watching me watching it now. I was trying to be sly about it, but you can be sly with an animal with great instincts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I gotta go. So I have the fiance walk me up to the mess hall, hoping I can find another girl from the cabin that's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And we had taken track together. So uh, she said she was creeped out. She didn't know why. She couldn't put her finger on it. I checked with her years later just to make sure that, she was just not scared to say something.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I told her what I had witnessed, she's like, I didn't see anything like that. It just creeped me out. Okay, fine. Um, Anyhow, we grab each other's hands so that we don't have one person fall and get left behind. Make a
Right.
mad dash for the girls' cabin, right?
Right.
We get there, we look at each other, we're like, shit. We both got to go to the bathroom. This camp, we're talking a latrine. We're not talking an actual working bathroom.
Really?
We're talking pit toilets.
Like an
We're
outhouse?
talking one stall.
Wow, really?
So
Is it like the ones that, like in the old 80s camp, movies where the the restroom is like outside in this little outhouse or something
oh
like
yeah,
that?
it's a
Is it?
little outhouse. It's a decent way from the cabin, the mess hall, anything.
Right.
It's if you ever were in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, the type of latrines they'd have at the camps for that. That's kind of what we're talking about there.
Wow.
Or you go to like the forestry division where they've got the old style outhouses that don't even have flushing toilets or just pit toilets, and you're lucky if you have water nearby to wash your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
So her and
Darcy.
I are looking at each other when we get there. We're like, "There's one toilet." We're both saying, "I'm not staying out here by myself." So one of us is
Right.
closing our eyes and holding the door shut, and then
Mm-hmm.
we switch, and then it's race back to the girls' cabin. We both were like tucked under the covers for the duration of the night, or at least till we fell asleep.
Yeah.
And then finally, when I got up in the morning, I don't know if I was feeling impervious because of it being light out,
Mm-hmm.
or it was just something of the past I didn't think much about. I get
Right.
up, there's not many people milling around, and I decide to go right back up by the mess hall.
Wow.
And as I'm getting close to there, there's just this awful, awful smell. Um, Someone tried to tell me later on when I was telling them about it, that it was a backed up grease trap. I'm like, how's it a backed up grease trap? We didn't cook anything with grease. How could it be a backed up grease trap?
Mm-hmm.
We barely use the kitchen. We wash dishes. That's it.
Wow.
And as I'm looking around the bowl, like the grassy bowl towards the top of it where we had been the night before, I'm noticing these gelatinous, grayish, brownish with a tint of green piles of scat. There were over a dozen, like small piles, right? Something had an upset stomach going through there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I know dog scat when I see it. This smelt like diarrhea from some sort of canine. Could it have been something else going through there beside what I saw the night? Absolutely. It's not like I saw it pop a squat, but with the amount that was there, it made me think because of the size of the animal, it was likely that. Um, and then I go over to the pine trees where I had seen it, and at the bottom of those pine trees, there's wood chips, right? They were definitely compressed like something heavy was on them for quite some time. And as I'm checking out where this thing was behind these pines, there's like this twiggy, brushy kind of bush.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, how the hell was this thing going back and forth during the night without making a noise? Because I didn't hear a single noise coming from behind us. It was like dead silent. So I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. At this point, I'm getting a little freaked out because I'm like, okay, how's it moving back and forth? That's like a stealth, almost like spirit ability. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same point, now I've got this scat here that I think is connected to this thing. That's a physical thing. So my mind's kind of reeling. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to leave this spot because there's nobody else around. And if this thing's still here, I don't want it coming out to get me. So what do? I take a really narrow trail through the woods to head over by the boys' cabin to see if anybody's up. Tell you, stupid teens, right?
Right.
So then I get over by the boys' cabin. There is not a soul up, right? Because I was going to ask one of the guys to check and see if the fiance was up yet, whatever.
Mhm.
Found out later, Bum was still asleep. You can be asleep in a camp, right? It's
Right.
beautiful. You got to go for a walk. So, anyhow, I decided to head uh, what I think was an eastern kind of direction. I was looking through my notes earlier to see. Um, and as I'm following this trail, there there is an orb that comes out of the hillside. It's about head height, roughly the size of a volleyball, more condensed, like a deep red in the center, and then as you get towards the edges, it kind of diffuses a little bit, is more of a faded red. And it's not like it's in a dead line. I mean, it does this little bitty hover thing, kind of like slowly sliding from one side to the other if it's like in one spot. And I'm watching this thing go up the trail. So my goofy ass decides to follow it. And at one point it stops. And even though this is an orb and it doesn't actually have a face, you can tell it's like turning around. And at this point I'm frozen solid because I'm about ready to release my bladder. Like, oh crud, this thing's is like, and I get just this thought in my head coming through like, why the hell are you following me? What do you want?
Right.
I'm speechless. I say nothing, and the thing turns around again, complete, starts going up the trail. So I follow it some more.
Mhm.
And eventually the trail we're on T-bones into another trail, and beyond that is some pretty dense woods. And I watched this thing go into the woods and dissipate. Like it just disappeared in front of my eyes.
Mhm.
And I wanted to go in and look around for it some more, but there was a lot of like buckthorn saplings and bramble, and there's just no way I was crawling through that with all the
Right.
thorns to try and get through there. Um, so that's where that had to end. But it was definitely interesting. I wish I could go back. I've tried contacting that place since remembering the name of it, and I can't get a reply from them.
Mhm.
If anybody's had any kind of experience there similar to that, if they'd be willing to, it's crickets. Have not gotten anything back.
Right.
Um, but regardless, it was interesting. I think that definitely spurred me into looking into things later in life.
Mhm.
Um, Immediately after it happened, yes, I went through the typical um, scared to go outside at night. If I did, I had a ball bat with me. Don't know what I thought I was going to do with a ball bat, but And
Right.
I remember being paranoid that something was watching me through one of the photographs that I had in my room. I actually went to the point of taking it down and putting it in the basement because I did not want it there. Um, but I was going back in the woods by my house again. I was, still going through whatever else.
Hey, can you, Darcy, can you tell everybody what the size of this orb was that you saw? The one that you
The
seen?
orb was roughly the size of a volleyball.
Wow. That's big. That's really big. Because Al Santarigu's seen, he's seen orbs and he has pictures of orbs and stuff. But I think the biggest size he mentioned was like a baseball.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing compared to a volleyball because volleyball is pretty big. But yeah, I got a question from Al Sanariga. He said, did the orb light up the area around it, or did it leave a shadow when it went past the trees?
No shadow when it was going past the trees, and it was
Hmm.
already daylight when I was looking around, so it didn't have the ability to light up the area around it that I had noticed.
Hmm.
But it's a great question.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, and he's got another question as well. He says, "How far did you go into the woods? How far did you go into the
If you're talking about the area where I saw the orb disappear, I was not able to go in because of that buckthorn.
Mm,
But the trails going through the woods otherwise, I was cutting through on the trails without giving it a thought. It's
right,
just if if there wasn't a trail, I couldn't really go in because of all the buckthorn and everything else.
right. And the someone was asking the color. What was the color again?
Red,
Red, red. Okay, because I've
dense
heard.
red in the center, like a cherry red, and then as you got to the outside, it was fading, so it was paler red.
Wow, that's the first time I've heard of red. I've heard of blue, green, white, gray, but never red. I've never heard of
Yeah,
red orbs. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
okay. So going back to your first encounter,
Yeah,
what was the year this happened?
it was 1994.
1994. Okay. So that was way before cell phone era,
Yep.
way before tablet era, and maybe some laptops, but they were barely starting to come out
I
around that
mean, at
time.
that point, you
But
were cool if you had a car phone.
right, right, exactly.
And I
But
wasn't even driving yet.
let me ask you this: did anyone carry like a camera, maybe a Polaroid, or I don't know, one of those what was it, 35 millimeter cameras that they had back in the 80s and
None of us
90s?
had it there with us.
No, no.
No.
Okay, okay, cool. And there was a question from my good friend Shane Michael Crisp. I'm trying to get his name down right because it's a long name. He from West Coast Dogman Project. He had mentioned very right here. Here it is. Says how far is she from Bray Road, and if she's been down Bray Road, has she ever noticed anything cryptid or paranormal?
Okay, so as, as far as my house
Mm-hmm.
to Bray Road, or even where I was living at the time to Bray Road, we're looking like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was over by Bray Road last October. I had a chance to go down it when I was attending the Beast of Bray Road conference, when I was headed over to a presentation at a local farm over there.
Mm-hmm.
And while I thought I heard something in the background while we were in the barn listening to the presentation, I did not see or notice anything cryptid or cryptid related on the road when I was going through. And by the time I left, we were talking midnight. I mean, I was expecting something to cross. I'm like, come on, give me something. It's pitch black.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So but you have been down Bray Road, right?
I have been once. It's actually a private road, and if they catch you there and you don't have a permit to be there, you're going to get in trouble. So,
Permit. Whoa, wait,
well,
back
permission,
up there for a minute. What do you mean
permission, not
permit?
permit, but yeah, you got to have permission to be there because it is a private road. You know, people
Oh.
live on there. They don't want it being made a big thing, even though Beast of Bray Road's gotten kind of popular thanks
Mm-hmm.
to Linda Godfrey.
Right.
Uh, it's a small town. They still don't make a big deal of it. You know, there is one guy that had a Beast of Bray Road wood carving done, and he's got it in his front yard, which is really cool. I didn't have a chance to see it in person, but I saw pictures of it later.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like the little mascot, but yeah, in general, you tell people you're there for the conference, they're like, "What? What's the Beast of Bray Road?" I think they just it's a small town. They don't want to admit they got something weird going on there for the most part. You know, you've got the few people that will, but it's still played down.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Well, that's the first time I've heard about that because I thought it was like a free access road, just like any other road in the country. But, of course, that, they probably had like some type of supervision by local police or something like that
I
where
think probably too many
people
people
don't,
were parking along there looking for it, you know? And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
it's one thing to drive through on your way to someplace, but it's another thing if you're going to park there, you're going to make the residents nervous.
right, right.
You know, I turn in a car that didn't belong and has just been sitting there, you know, in my
Mm,
area. I'm like, okay, what are you up to? No good. Nobody knows you. What are you doing here?
right, exactly. Well, I mean, yeah, they should have some type of, supervision there, because you don't want a lot of people just flock there and hold like
Right.
a whole convention or show right in the middle of the street or anything like that, right? So.
I mean, there have been groups that do research that have gone out there. I know that there's a couple people that work with the guy that did the presentation for us
Hmm.
that they'll go out with him on his farm looking for, cryptids or UFO. There's a lot of UFO activity over there too, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, and they'll do things kind of privately, but it's not like it's ever been a big to do other than the conference, which the actual conference is not held on Bray Road. It's at a like a little park that's got a
Can, hey, can you
building on
can
it.
you can you give us a brief explanation on how that works, the conference, the Bray Road conference, uh,
Oh,
annually, right? They do that like every once a year.
this is the second year they're having it,
Mm.
and they've moved it up to the end of this month. I think there's only a couple days left to get your tickets. They do not sell them at the door. The ticket itself is $40, and that's to listen to people talk about, cryptids, Beast of Bray Road. We've got some witnesses, some 14 encrypted researchers that come and talk.
Mm.
It's an extra $10 to take in the presentation over at Mr. Hampel's farm.
Mm.
And that was a solid presentation. He's got photos he's showing you and explaining, what he's got going on. He's got trail cams up, that kind of thing. So you get some pretty interesting things. And if weather permits, he'll take you on a hayride around the farm. And
Cool,
then
cool.
the first night, one of the paranormal cryptid groups is doing a presentation at a local library out that way.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if you go to the website, and I can put a link on your Facebook group. If you go to the website, they kind of give you a rundown on who's going to be there and talking, and what days or what events.
Hmm.
And for the hayride this year, they've got 4 different times. The latest time sold out, but I believe last time I checked, they still had 3 times available. And that one is on Friday. It's the last one in April. So
Hmm. Cool, 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 cool. So how long does it last? Do they normally do it like on a weekend, like maybe 3 day
it's
event, or?
Thursday night,
Hmm.
Friday at whatever time block you choose. If you're going to do the hayride, that's an extra $10 for the hayride presentation thing, and then the main day where you're getting all the talking by all these different witnesses and researchers is on Saturday.
Hmm. Saturday. So Saturday is like the main event.
Saturday would be the
And
main event.
Thursday just kind of builds up, right? Everybody meets, everybody greets each other, kind of like a meet and greet, and then
Well, it's at a library with
hang out.
a group actually talking about things that they've seen and captured, trying to pursue the Beast of Bray Road and whatever UFO stuff they may have found out there too.
Hmm.
Then Friday, you've got Mr. Hampel talking about the occurrences going on at his farm that's like a stone's throw from Bray Road. So going through there, you just might see something. Can't promise anything, of course, but it's always interesting. The anticipation's always getting you. A lot of people
Yeah,
choose the latest times possible just for hopes that it'll
right,
be more productive for that. And then
right.
Saturday, you've got all your talkers and witnesses. I know last year we had booths set up where people were selling their books. We had a lady selling like vinyl stickers with the different cryptids. Um,
And how far away is it from the actual Bray Road?
I want to
Is it
say,
within the same town or
oh,
next town
definitely within the same
over?
town.
Okay, okay.
Definitely within the same town. Um, I want to say it was maybe a 15 or 20-minute drive, and I got lost easy trying to find the farm for the presentation. So,
Okay. Okay. Hey, I have a question from Tamara 0142. She says, has anyone that lives on Bray Road now seen the beast?
sightings
I'm
are still
guessing.
going on from what I understand.
I'm guessing lately, yeah. Really? Wow. Okay. But do they come out, or is it just like kind of between them, between
You know,
neighbors?
I believe it's largely they keep it on the down low just between the residents,
Mm-hmm.
but every now and then you'll have one of the stories get out to Donna or one of these groups that's trying to research the area, and that's usually how you end up hearing about it. We had a witness out in the general area that he checks drainage ponds to make sure that there's no infractions by who's ever utilizing them. You know, you don't want to get them polluted and whatever. And he had witnessed
Mm-hmm.
the beast within the last, well, it'll be within the last 2 years now because it's been like half a year or so. But um, it's there's still people seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow, that's cool. I was going to ask you too. What I'd like you to mention to the people in the audience. What would be your nearest forest? National forest close to the area, the general area where you live.
Nearest
Hmm.
national forest that
Yeah.
I'm aware of,
Hmm.
not including the little wooded parks, but the nearest national forest that I'm aware of has got to be the Kettle Moraine.
Hmm.
And that's still a little bit of a drive. I want to say it's an hour and a half or so from the house
Hmm.
in a different direction than
Right.
uh, the
Bray
Bray
Road.
Road is.
Right.
But then you also, I believe, the Kettle Moraine's right up next to Holy Hill too. Kettle Moraine stretches, I swear, half the state. So you've got a pretty good distance that it covers.
Right. Right. Wow. That's awesome. Um, have there been any sightings there that you know about?
In
Any?
Kettle Moraine,
Yeah.
oh God, I hear about Dogman, Bigfoot, Goatman.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I'm sure there's probably been others. We had a Mothman sighting over at State Fair Park last
Mm-hmm.
year during the State Fair actually.
Mm.
So I mean, it's been really interesting.
Wow. I bet. Hey, so now let's I want you to explain how you met, how you started talking to I forgot her name right now. I got sidetracked a little bit here, guys. Sorry for that. I kind of lost track of thought. But Linda Godfrey, can you
Okay,
tell us about Linda Godfrey now, please? How you met her? How how she asked you to use your story on her book? What's the name of that book? How
sure.
long ago it was?
Oh,
Yeah,
gee, how long ago is a good question. It's
yeah,
it's been a hot minute.
right.
Um, I was watching, I believe it was either the Travel Channel or Discovery. I can't remember if Travel Channel had its own channel at that point.
Hmm.
But it was near Halloween and they had a segment called Haunted Travels. I look forward to it every year, just hearing whatever ghost stories they're talking about.
Hmm.
And they did a piece on Linda Godfrey in the Beast of Bray Road.
Hmm.
Well, it's the first I had ever heard of it at that point. Because at the time, I had written off what people are now describing as Dogman as a werewolf, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, no, it can't be. It can't be. They're not supposed to exist. But yet I know I saw what I saw.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, let's see if I can find this lady on the internet. Managed to find a way to contact her via email.
Oh, okay.
Sent her a clip of what I had written down. And actually, I found the story. I shared with her in the book. I reread it today, and I'm like, I forgot pieces I had shared with her that I forgot to, you know, write down when I transferred the file. But I said, I don't know if this is or isn't. I would like your opinion on it based off of, what you found, because obviously you've been doing this for a while. And she wrote back. And while she didn't give me a definite as to whether she thought it was or wasn't, she did ask me if it would be okay if she used it in a book that she had coming up. And I said, yeah. And at the time, I was still grooming for a small mom and pop pet shop. And I said, could you just use a different name? And I'm like, I'll give you my crafting name. I don't want things to reflect poorly on the business or have an impact negatively
Hmm.
because the book was going to be coming out awfully close to Halloween. And I didn't want to get written off as a nut and freak out half the clientele. Right. So it is under a different name in her book. But regardless, I said, yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, well,
Whatever.
yeah,
No
you were
problem.
you were just starting off, so you kind of wanted to, hang low, right? In the
Yeah, at that time
beginning,
I was a little bit more worried about what
yeah, because
people
I
thought.
remember,
Now I just don't give a shit.
right?
Call
No,
me
because
crazy lady if you want. I don't
yeah,
care.
there you go. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, and touch up on that because at first you said that you didn't really want to come out with your, original name, like your real
Right.
name, and now you're just like, you know what, you don't you don't care if you share your name anymore. So
I mean, I've always been the black sheep of the family. I've never really fit in anywhere. So it's like, well, think what they want to think. That's life,
yeah,
whatever. You asked about the book that it was
yeah,
in,
yeah,
and see if I can get that up so people can
yeah.
see
Let's
it.
shows that
Hunting
book.
the American Werewolf
Hunting
by
the American Werewolf.
Linda Godfrey.
Wow, that's an awesome title right there.
Yeah, it really
I'll tell
is.
you that.
I think it was her second one that she wrote.
Uh huh.
Think, don't quote me on it. Because The Beast of Bray Road was her original book, and then she's had, sequels since then, of course. This was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the funny thing was, I mentioned studying Reiki with an animal communicator, and it turns out in that very same book,
Mm-hmm.
Linda had met Rebecca Moravec and asked her if she would attempt to communicate with these beings because they're supposed to be very telepathic. So Rebecca said yes, because telepathy is how she communicated with animals.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually got some information, not a ton, but a little bit, and it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't realize till years later when I was studying with her, because I had met her through the pet store that I was working at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm like, wow. I'm like, I actually bought her a copy of the book. I'm like, here you go. You're in here. Did you know that? But yeah, I mean, I didn't actually meet Linda face to face, but the fact that she had, contact with Rebecca, who was talented, and she will tell you straight up that
Mm-hmm.
uh, animal communicators, even on their best days, are only accurate about 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But having had so many clients gone to her, having had coworkers gone to her, and hearing what she got talking to their pet, whether living or dead, the information she got, there's no way she could have gotten that if she wasn't getting it
Mm-hmm.
through true telepathy. Because
Right.
they didn't tell her any of that because they went in being skeptics. They weren't telling her a single thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she still was blowing their mind to the point where they had to tell me about it. So,
Right.
I mean, I believe she had the gift. I believe what she got. It's
Hey, I got a question from Al Sanariga. It says,
sure.
question, does she know Jay? I don't know how to pronounce that last name.
Unfortunately, not yet. But I'm sure, with the circles
Backerson?
being as tight as they are, I'll
Hmm.
probably have a chance to meet him eventually.
Okay. And I got a question myself. So how did you actually communicate with Linda to have her use your encounter in her book? That's what I'm
That
intrigued.
was all through email.
Oh,
All through
okay.
email. So I've never met the woman face to
Hmm.
face to this day. I was hoping to bump into her at the conference, but she uh she wasn't able to make it. So maybe this year, who knows?
Right, right. Hopefully. Hey, I have another question. Dark Woods. It says, question is Linda's health doing good these days? Do you know?
I wish I had an answer for you. That's actually why she didn't make it last year, but I'm hoping she's turning around. I know a couple other people are definitely closer to her than what I am, and I asked them if they've heard, and they hadn't at this point. So unfortunately, I just don't have a good answer for that.
You know what? I didn't even know she had a health problem right now. Honestly, I didn't even know that. Mm. But I hope she's doing good. She seems like a very nice person. You know,
She does.
knowledgeable and
She wants to be helpful for sure, and she's presented things, I think,
hmm
as neutrally as she can with the way she writes, at least in the books I've had a chance to read thus far. So hopefully
right.
she's doing well and better than what has us all worried. So
Hey, I got a question myself. Growing up in Wisconsin, when was the first time you heard of the Beast of Bray Road? Was that like a
actually, on the Travel Channel's Haunted Travels Week. It was the first time I
Wow.
heard of it.
How old were you then? Teen? I mean,
By the time I heard about it,
preteen?
I was
Mm-hmm.
in my 20s.
20s. Wow.
Yeah, so it was after my experience for sure.
Yeah. Wow. So that's you found out about that, oh, obviously way after your experience, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to remember if I was done with the technical school by then. I may
right.
have been.
So what did you think about it the very first time you heard about it? Like, holy crap! And it's here in Wisconsin, and it's close to where I live. I mean, what was your reaction to that when you first heard
My
about
first thought was, how close is it to where I saw that thing?
it? Right. Right. Wow, that's awesome. That's cool. Um, and well, okay. So, what else? I remember you telling me in the pre-interview that you had like other sightings, right? Not
Right.
encounters, but sightings after your encounter.
Yes.
Can
And
you tell us
actually,
about
in
those?
just the last year or so.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
and they're very brief. It's a quick
Okay.
passing. It's not like it was up super close and personal. It was I noticed something that shouldn't have been there, and it was far too large, far too tall, even on fours for anything that we would find in the area, even if it was one of those loose wolves that had gotten out years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the first one that I noticed, actually, it was dark and it was on my way home from work. Like I probably about a third of my travel is going through rural area with decent farm fields and trees and that kind of thing. I mean,
So
there's a river and a couple of bridges and that I cross over, and I caught this thing
wow.
running along the tree line,
Right.
and I couldn't give you a good guesstimate as to how far up it went on all fours because I was moving and dealing with seeing it in the shadows and oncoming traffic with their brights on, so I can't
Wow.
give a real good height. I just know it was taller than it should have been on all fours, and it was moving pretty darn quick.
Right.
Um, the second one, I want to say it was during the week because while it was in the afternoon, like it would have been 3 or 4 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
it was foggy. It was getting dark. I want to say it was a warm spot in February, if memory serves.
How far is that travel to work? Is that like maybe 2-3 miles or
It's like a 30-minute travel for
30
me to go to
minutes?
work.
Wow, that's okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially if you're going to work or coming to work or coming home from work late at night or something like that. You know what I mean? And it's a scary, windy road. You know what I mean? Dark as hell. I mean, that's got to be well, especially after what you saw. You know what I mean? Maybe not everybody thinks of that, but after what you saw, you kind of like you know looking
yeah, but by
around,
this
right? I
time,
mean.
I've warmed up to it and I want another
Hmm.
encounter. As crazy as that sounds, I want answers. I want them up
You
close.
do. Yeah, you were
Assuming it's
telling me
not
about
being
that.
aggressive for some reason, I want them up close.
Yeah,
Uh,
what was that? What was that? You told me that Brian and Todd asked you over at Cryptid Creatures
oh,
that question. What was
the
it?
whole reason
Yeah.
I ended up getting on that program to do that interview originally was they asked if you could see a Bigfoot far away or up close. What would you prefer? I said,
Mhm.
I'll pass on the Bigfoot, but I'll take a Dogman up close.
They
And,
just thought you were crazy.
yeah, they all thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
But I had my encounter. It was not aggressive. And if it was strictly animal based, that thing should have lit out after me and my friend when we ran to the girls' cabin. Because that
Yeah.
incites prey drive when you run from a
When you
regular.
run, yeah, exactly.
And yet, this thing obviously had enough intelligence not to chase after us.
But do you think it might have been because it knew that once it reached you and your friends or whatever, which are easy prey. Honestly, y'all were
Right.
little girls, right? But do you think maybe that he knew that y'all were gonna scream and startle the rest of the people that were around y'all and maybe alert them? Maybe that's why he didn't want to attack. Have you ever thought of that?
You know, with as fast as these things are supposed to be,
Hmm.
I don't think screaming would have been an option for us. I think it could have taken us really easy, especially if it had come up. It would have had to come up from behind us. Would we have heard it with our hearts pounding in our ears and our panic to get back
You
to the
know,
cabin?
you know why I say that, Darcy? Because today I just posted a video that was, I think it's like 11 years old, and a buddy of mine, Anthony Antrocks, he mentioned it when I interviewed Jody Cook. He mentioned it on that episode, and what was it? My other buddy Shane from West Coast Dogman Crypt Project. He asked me that. He said, "Hey, Carlito, did you ever get that video that Anthony mentioned on that interview with Jody Cook?" And I said, "You know what? No, I didn't. You know, I kind of forgot about that. But you know what? Let me ask him." And so I talked to Anthony earlier today, and he sent me the link on that video, and it's a really good video because it's got like 4 or 5 different stories of different dogman encounters or dogman attacks actually. So what this was all about was a kid getting attacked by what people think this happened in Bakersfield, California. I don't know if anybody's seen this video, but it's in my group. Just posted it today. Um, and this kid was, and I seen the video, and I said, yes, I do remember that video now. And I shared it to to my good friend Shane earlier, and I posted it on my group because I was like, yeah, that was a good video. You know what? Let me post it on my group. So anyway, long story short, this kid was out there with his older brother and another friend. They were all, I'm gonna say the older brother was like maybe 10 years old, and the younger brother was like maybe
I've
8.
seen that one.
You've seen that one? And
Mm-hmm.
they're like under a bridge. You can see like a freeway bridge or a highway
Yeah.
bridge or something, and there's like stones and piles of rocks, big rocks, and they're just playing, like little kids. And all of a sudden, they found some tracks. The 2 younger kids found some tracks, and the older kid was like, "Hey, come on, Matt, I think his name was. Hey, Matt, come on, let's go. We gotta go home. We gotta go home." And so the other kid came and said, "Oh, we gotta go home." He's like, "Yeah, we gotta go home." But the other kid, Matt, the younger brother, he's like, "No, I'm gonna follow these tracks." Is what he said.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, come on, we gotta go." He's like, "No, let me follow you." So he said, "All right, it's all on you. If anything happens, it's your fault. Like it's all on you." Well, they went home and left him there. And as soon as he got home, both of his parents like, "Where's Matt? Where's Matt? What happened?" "Oh, well, he just wandered off." And like, "What? What do you mean? Well, we got to go get him." So they went back, and they supposedly found him like I'm gonna say like maybe 100 feet from where they lost him or whatever, and he was found dead. And it was there's even a picture on that video I shared today. So you guys, if you want to go check it out, there's a video where the kid's dead, and it's got big slashes going across right here his neck, and and the
Okay.
and the guy explains that when somebody falls behind or is alone, that's when the dog man takes advantage, or wolf in this case. I mean,
Right.
and they blamed it on a wolf, even though there has been no wolf sightings in that area for hundreds of years. This is in Bakersfield, California. Can't remember the year, but yeah. So it wasn't a wolf, but it was. They claimed it was a wolf attack. Well, the police
Well,
did.
they'll do that. Um, I actually, the original one that I had seen, they didn't have the gory detail in there, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video to see, because I remember
Check.
thinking I wish I could see the wounds
Right, right.
to
Me
see what I
too.
think. Because if they
Mm-hmm.
don't show it, how are you supposed to know? I get not wanting to upset people. I get
Yeah.
wanting to respect the dead,
Yeah.
but it makes it hard if you can't be out there to see it. It's like an image would be helpful. And I'm not saying that all of them are friendly and they're not going to be a lapdog, but I believe just like with people, you get some that are more aggressive and some that are more peaceable, and just you got to be smart.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But see, my whole point of all this that I brought up this story is that they like to attack people when they're alone, not
Right.
in numbers. See what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying, like with you and your friend, y'all were in numbers. So maybe that's why it didn't want to attack y'all, because it knew that maybe one of y'all would have gotten away and alerted the rest of the people in the camp. See what I'm saying?
Maybe,
Whereas if you would have
But
been alone, then that would have probably been a different story.
if I had been alone, I don't think I would have been running.
Right.
I'm a walker. I twist my ankles easy. Running's not cool. Um, but I honestly, like I said, I never got the feeling of being stalked or aggression. It was curiosity.
Mhm.
So, in our particular case, I just don't think it would have. Um, but that it could have just been the individual too. You know, sometimes I wonder, these attacks, are they triggered because someone's not paying attention to warning signs? Did they cross into territory they don't belong at? You know, where we had the choir retreat set up, it was used on a pretty regular basis for, other groups coming in and out. So I think this thing was probably used to people
Mhm.
being there, which I think makes a difference too. If you cross something in an area where they're not used to you being there, oh, you're a major threat. If they're used to you being there, well, you're an inconvenience, but they can handle it. It's like you hear about in the Ozarks and over at LBL and all that, where these things get really nasty, but they're used to having huge patches of woods where nobody bugs them either, you know?
Right. Right.
So,
Right. Exactly. I think that's mainly the like the most common cause of the attacks is where people are accidentally stumbling into them because they're in a undiscovered wooded area that nobody's ever been to and these things they just happen to be there and like, oh, you stumbled into you chose the wrong part of the crash, basically, you know what I mean? And now I'm gonna get you, you know what I mean? But that's the way it happens, and I think that's the main reason for the 411 cases as well. You know what I mean? Especially like in the heavy wooded areas, and
right.
because people are alone out there, that's why I say people shouldn't do that. Shouldn't go alone out there. I mean, you want to go in the woods, that's fine, but go in a group. You know, don't go alone. You don't know what you're exposing yourself to. You don't know what can happen to you, and nobody will ever find out because
Well,
there's
and how many
nobody to
people
witness it.
remember to look up? How many people are paying attention to the trees to see if there's claw marks or anything they're trying to warn them to back off?
Mm-hmm.
This is where they live. They have families to protect and feed, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
I talk to a lot of people that talk about the telepathic ability. Well, that means they've got to be intelligent. So now you're dealing with intelligence. They've probably got communities or clans that they're dealing with, hierarchies. That means they probably have sacred sites too that you are not supposed to be going into. So if you're not going to pay attention and be careful, well, you're just
Yeah.
asking to get your butt whooped.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, the thing is that I don't think we're in the same times as the past. You know what I mean? Because like when I was growing up, I used to, I was 6 years old on my bike all day. As soon as the sunrise, I was out of there. I would go to a friend's house and then another friend's house and another friend's house. And I'm talking about we would ride all around town. I'm not talking about just our little streets. No, no, no. We would ride all around town with no supervision, no adult supervision. But that was back in those days. You can't do that anymore. See what
Yeah,
I'm saying? That was back in
true
those
about
days,
that.
right? So the same thing applies to the woods. Back in the day, where very, very back in the day, I think it was okay for people to go out and explore in the woods alone, or maybe two or three people, whatever, but not anymore. You see what I'm saying? Now times have changed, and now the woods are that much more dangerous than they used to be 20, 30, 40 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't
I
know if
think
that.
part of that's due to the human encroachment. We've taken away so many wild places, they're having fewer and fewer to
Yeah,
hide.
yeah,
I think part of it is because we've become so disconnected from nature. We're disrespecting the planet more. We're disrespecting the wild more. And that's upsetting to anybody that lives there too. So, when I was a kid living, with my parents still, there was a woods that I frequented all the time. And I swear the one day the woods told me, get the hell out. And I swear it saved my life because there's some creepy guy smoking a cigarette I caught out of the corner of my eye.
hmm
And with everything that went down after that, you know, I was looking for like a piece of paper and something to write with because I'm like, oh, what if he's a child predator? What if somebody gets taken? I should write that down, just in case. And in the time that it took me to try and find something, the guy went zipping out.
Right.
Creepy feeling to him though, and whatever was in the woods, whether it's the woods having sentience all of its own because of all the old trees in there, if it's because of a creature that was there. I mean, I never saw any signs of anything cryptid in there that I knew of,
Right.
but I mean, the woods definitely had a feel to it. But I
Oh,
always felt at home there. It was never a problem. But I showed respect. I didn't litter. I actually picked up litter and cursed people who littered, you know. But it was always about exploring and connecting and just getting away from the stress of society. It was never anything bad. But I you can't even walk down a bike trail these days without finding 50 million pieces of trash or the beach,
exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like I said, I just think that the woods are a lot more dangerous now than they used to be 20, 30, 40 years ago. You know what I mean? You got, you know, druggies in there, you know what I'm saying? You got killers in there, that you don't know if they're just running from the law, ex convicts or whatever.
oh yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean? You got,
super creepy with those. I mean that's why you need the protection. It's not
yes.
from the animals, it's from the people. You can
Right.
always trust an animal to be an animal.
Right. Right.
You're finding you can trust people to be deceptive more and more these days, which
And
is
that
really a
and
sad
that and
comment.
that's right, and that's the last thing you would think of finding in the woods, right? Like another person trying to harm you and trying to steal from you, kill you, rape you, whatever have you. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's the last thing on your mind that you're gonna find in the woods when you're trying to go out there and have peaceful day, fishing or hunting or just camping out, have nice bonfire, your tent. That's what I'm saying. It's we're living in different times now than what it used to be, 40, 50, 60 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my conclusion of why so many people go missing, these days in the woods. Not only just because of the cryptids, but because of other, bad people in there too. You know what I mean? So, hey, I was gonna ask you too, about. Well, actually, I had another question, but I can't. I don't think I can find it. There's been too many comments that's been popping up ever since I seen that question. But I was gonna ask you. Yeah, let me ask you the $1 million question in my show. I ask everybody in my show. Okay, what do you think, according to your experience and your encounter, what do you think a dogman is? Is it living, breathing, flesh and blood creature, or is it a paranormal with some type of supernatural powers? What is your opinion on that?
Based off of my own personal experiences
Hmm.
and people I've had a chance to talk to that supposedly know the clans or part of their clan, uh, I believe that they are a creature that predates human beings.
Hmm.
I believe they're highly intelligent and evolved. Uh, the use of the telepathy, the ability to seem to disappear here and there that you hear about, I believe that because they exist on planes of existence beyond our 3D. I mean, humans, they limit themselves, right? We have this concept of time that we limit ourselves to. And truthfully, there is no time. We have things going on around us all the time from different planes, different times, and it's all going on simultaneously. They're able to live in all of that, and we're living in this tiny little fraction of it. I think they just have a wider expanse of what they're capable of experiencing.
Hmm.
I do believe they're still a physical creature.
Hmm. So basically, you're saying they're both.
I believe they've tapped into parts of abilities that we've yet to discover about ourselves.
Okay.
I believe they're physical. They're just a lot more spiritually gifted than most people have.
Okay. That makes sense. So they're more flesh and blood, but with more psychic powers or psychic abilities that we don't know because we don't use or exercise ourselves. Is that basically
I
what you're
mean,
saying?
you think of Native Americans,
Mm-hmm.
you think of Aboriginal people, they have shamans, right?
Right.
they have this ability to reach planes of existence that most of us don't. Most of us are
Hmm.
not willing to put in the time and work, or we don't have the ability to put in the time and work to reach those other planes of existence.
Hmm.
We only know 3D,
Right.
the four levels of being, but there's
So
so
they
many other planes outside of this that exist.
so they must be that much more advanced, is what you're saying.
I believe so.
Right. And like you had told me in the pre-interview that you believe that they've been here for many centuries
I believe
before
so.
us, way
Yeah,
before
I
us.
believe they were here before humans are.
Hmm.
One of the ladies, may she rest in peace, that I had the privilege of briefly knowing, uh, who actually lived in northern Wisconsin. I really wish I could have had a chance to meet her. She said that they identify themselves as another being, rather than just an animal. I mean, they're an animal to the point in their eyes that humans are animals,
Right.
but they refer to themselves as beings of the first light.
Really?
Yes.
So is that what you were talking about the other day of what they think of themselves, what they refer to
Yeah, it's like, how do
themselves?
you identify yourselves? It's
They
like,
don't see themselves as Dogman or
no,
werewolves or anything
that's
like
a
that.
term that people
That
coined.
we right. So can you repeat that again? What they think of themselves?
Beings of the first light is what I understand.
Beings of the first light. Wow, it's the first time I've heard that. Thank you for
You're
sharing that with
welcome.
us. Wow, that's crazy. I've never heard of that before. I've always wondered, but never heard what the actual terminology was. I do have a question here.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. Okay. It's from Darkwoods. He says, has the caller ever seen UFOs with or around cryptids?
I've only ever seen one UFO in my life, and I was very young before I was aware cryptids actually existed beyond just fancy, whimsical thoughts.
Hmm.
And I probably first or second grade, it was summer. We were sitting on the porch, as was customary back then,
Hmm.
with our neighbor, and we were looking at the sky and we saw this blue and red blinking thing. And at first we thought it was a satellite, and we're sitting there watching it for had to be at least 15 minutes. I mean, as a kid, it felt like hours, but I'm sure it was probably like 15 minutes or whatever.
Right.
And this supposed satellite that we thought we were watching all of a sudden took off like a bat out of hell, and it was gone.
Yes, I remember you telling me that. Yes, yes,
So
yes.
between that and watching way too many unsolved mysteries where people were abducted, I mean, I've been paranoid and petrified of UFOs ever since. No
Right,
desire to see one again.
right. Hey, did you ever I mean, I'm not trying to like say how old you are or anything like that, but I did. Did you ever watch like Tales from the Dark Side or you know those shows back in the day? You know what I mean? I think there was one. One was
I don't think my
Tales from
mom
the
would
Dark
let me
Side.
watch them for fear I was going to end up
No,
with nightmares.
you know what? I did. I was very intrigued. I was very intrigued, and I was a little kid. I'm not gonna lie. I was like maybe I don't know 6 7 years old, and I remember the shows would start like Tales from the Dark Side, and then there was that one really creepy one. I don't know if it's Tales from. I think it is Tales from the Dark Side. It was that one where it's like a house behind big trees, and it was all dark, and it started with that little song like do 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 do, like real creepy, and then
Mhm.
they go grrr, and it kind of go into I thought that was like the creepiest damn show back in the 80s, man. I think it was Tales from the Dark Side. Yeah, from the Dark Side. Because there was another one called Tales from the Crypt, but that was that
Right.
funny guy. The yeah 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 yeah
Yeah.
yeah yeah. Looked like a skull and with like a couple hairs in the back, and that was it.
Yeah.
But that was more funny and comical. But the Tales from the Dark Side, that was really creepy. And so I grew up watching that. I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries, like you mentioned, and all I loved all of that. You know what I mean? And that's
Right.
since I was a kid. So I was leaning towards that side of the world, like the mysterious, the unknown. I guess you could say. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I know when they had the book club for the kids, remember you'd be able to order books in school.
Yeah.
Um, I remember getting books on ESP and stories to tell in the dark and things like that. My favorite babysitters club book was The Ghost at Dawn's House. You know, it was all that weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to reveal anybody's age or anything like
Oh,
that,
it's not a big deal. I'm 43. I don't care. It's really it's a number.
Right, exactly. Yes, yes. Thank you. You got a really positive attitude about that. Thank you. Um, and I know I seen another question on there, but it's like it's kind of hard to find. Hey guys, if y'all have questions, can y'all please put them in capital letters? That way I can find them easier because I gotta go back to like almost all the comments, and it's really hard to look for a question. But I know I've seen like two or three questions on there. But anyway, I'll see if I can, or if y'all can ask them again, please. Thank you. Yeah. So growing up, all that was awesome, and I want you to talk to us about also because I remember you saying that you had like different like weird encounters or
Yeah.
type of things happen to you, not just
There was
cryptid, right?
I'll take care of the cryptids first, and if everybody's still awake after that, we can talk about some of the paranormal stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a ton more cryptid stuff.
Right.
The second Dogman sighting that I was
Mm-hmm.
getting into before we got sidetracked,
Mm-hmm.
it was actually only a couple blocks from my house this
Oh.
February, and this thing on all fours, its back was the same height as a small car. Literally, it was walking past the car. It was backlit, so I just had like that shadowy backlighting. I couldn't tell you a specific color to it,
Mm-hmm.
but to have it that close to the house was, you know, a little bit like, oh wow, okay. And I've certainly heard sounds, call, howling that doesn't sound like any normal kind of sound that we would have around here. Now I know someone's got a hybrid wolf dog uh, down towards Main Street, and I don't know if, depending on what dog that's mixed with, if that would account for what I was hearing, or if it's one of these other things. But I know it's not normal. I don't hear it all the time.
Do you think it could have been a coy dog? Because a coy dog is a mix between a coyote
Wrong
and
pitch.
a regular no, and a
Wrong
regular
pitch. Not
dog.
a coy dog and not a coy wolf. And the coy wolf is totally plausible for our area. Uh, when I was younger, we had some wolves break out of the zoo right
Mm-hmm.
around the time we had a field trip, which is why I remember it. Because my mom was with that field trip and she was convinced these things were going to jump out from behind a garage and kill us. She had a death grip on my hand.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, coy dogs, I believe, are in the area. Coy wolves, probably, but I do not. That the pitches were all wrong for either
Mm-hmm.
one of those. Now, if it was a wolf dog, maybe, but it was a pretty intense howl. Like I said, I'm not saying for sure it was one of these cryptids, but it was definitely not a normal sound for any of the kinds of canines you would find around here. So that's always interesting. I'm always excited when I hear it, but I got the dog out, so I got to get her in before she freaks out too bad. And by the time I go out, it's gone, or I'd freaking hell back.
Okay. Hey, okay, so look, Christine, she's got a question. She's the lady that I want you to meet, Darcy.
Yeah,
And she already said, yeah, yeah, sure. She already gave me her number so you can call her and everything. So,
cool.
um, she says, I asked how relaxed Darcy is going into the forest. That's was one of the questions that I forgot.
You know, it depends. If I'm by myself, I'm usually
Mm,
pretty relaxed. If I've
mm,
got my dog with, as my last dog, we did everything together. She loved to travel. If I
mm.
was going in with her, I was on high alert because some of the dog parks that we have near us, there have been cougar and bobcat sightings.
Oh, yeah.
So, even with, you know, a walking stick and whatnot, I don't have a gun. So I can't shoot anything in self defense. It's beat it off and try and save my dog. And we have um, a farm near here that they take in exotics, and they had a gator get loose a couple years ago. So anytime we're near a body of water, I always freak out. I mean, the Wisconsin winter should kill it anyhow, but there's always that what if. So I was always on high alert when I had her with me, just for fear of if something gets her. But
Mm,
if I'm just out for a hike, I'm way more relaxed than probably I should be. But I feel at home in the forest.
Really? So you feel more relaxed going out there by yourself than with your dog?
Yeah, but it's not just,
And
and that's because I want to be on alert for her because she is smaller
right,
than me.
right.
Um,
And that's what I was going to ask you. Would it be because you're more concerned of her than
yes,
you are about yourself
more because I'm concerned for her.
for her
And
safety?
she actually, I'm convinced she did save my life one of those times when we were at the dog park because we got
Really?
in there. I was the only car there. And normally she's pulling me to get down the trail. But we heard a weird sound and she is refusing to move down that trail. And I'm like, baby, I thought you want to go to the park. And she kept wanting to cut across the farm field. I said, baby, we can't do that. We're going to make the farmer mad. We can't go in the farm field.
Hmm.
She would not go down the trail. I said, your only other option is to go back in the car and go home. And she drugged me to the car.
Okay.
So, the sound was not anything like a cryptid. I'm guessing it was one of the big cats. Because,
Hmm.
I've heard a bobcat and a cougar call, but obviously any animal is going to have all sorts of different calls that we're not aware of too. It was a short, almost chirpy sound, but it didn't sound cattish to me. But I don't know all the sounds those things make. But I'm thinking it was probably one of those coming through the area. I mean, we do get wild game going through there for the river, so
Right.
I'm convinced she saved my life
And
because
you know what worries me the most, Darcy, that when I grew up, we used to go to parks, we used to go to rivers, and swing off of a big tree limb right into the water, and jump off of railroad tracks. I remember, my older brother's not me because I was so little, but this was like maybe I don't know, say about a good 50, 60 feet up in the air. They used to jump off of them. We thought it was like the greatest thing in the world, right?
Mhm.
But it was safe to do that back then, and now it's not. Um, I've never heard of, as a kid. I never heard of a Black Panther sighting here in Texas, in the plains of Texas. You know what I'm talking about? Plains. It's like open
Yeah,
plains with bushes and trees and all that. But it's really here in Texas, really not hilly like it is in California because I lived in California myself. But uh, just in case you're wondering, Shane, that's in Southern California, and yes, that is the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. I know you're a San Diego's fan. I saw that on your post the other day. San Diego Sharks. Anyway, I thought I'd just make that little joke, Shane. Anyway, in like I said, growing up, I've never heard of maybe a Black Panther sighting, especially not in Texas. You know what I mean? Where there's no, I mean, yes, there's mountain lions and cougars, but there's no Black Panthers. We're talking about Black Panther. That's a exotic animal that I think that's what happened. People brought it from overseas, like say South Africa. I mean Africa or South America. Where they got Black Panthers, and they just couldn't take care of them anymore, and they just let them out loose in the wild. And that's a scary thought because if you think about it, what if somebody brings an anaconda from Brazil to the States and it just gets tired of having it and then just throws it out in a swamp somewhere? And
that actually happens on a regular basis.
what do you think is going to happen? They're just going to procreate, and next thing you know, we're going to be infested with anacondas here in the United States. It's like that's crazy. That's unheard of, right? But it could happen, and I brought that up because of the Black Panther, um, because that's a scary thought of running into a Black Panther when you're out in the woods. You know what I mean? When that creature's not supposed to exist here in North America. See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that's kind of the same thing as these creatures, Bigfoot and Dogman, you know, popping up out of nowhere. Like I thought these, creatures didn't exist. I thought they were just, folklore, or they were just, made up stories. But yeah, the Black Panther thing that's crazy, and like I used to go out in the woods when I was a kid, but now I really really think twice on doing that. I've actually thought of starting to explore some places because there's some places here all around me. Explore some places here but I know I'm not going to get anybody to go out there with me. I'm going to have my gun on my side, but is that going to be enough if a Black Panther comes out? I mean, really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or anything worse than that, which, Bigfoot or Dogman. I know I'm not going to have a chance.
You're
Even
just gonna piss them off if you
yeah,
do
even with the
that.
even with the gun, you know what I mean. So what am I actually doing? Why am I setting myself up for that? That I know I have a very slim chance of gathering any type of good evidence or tracks or maybe even a picture or video of something running. You know, I know it's a long shot, so why would I do that? Why would I put myself in that situation where I know that I might not come back from, or I might come back, uh, you know, uh, injured really bad or something. You know what I mean? I've
Mhm.
thought about it, but I'm like, nah, is it worth it? Nah, I don't think so. I'll just let the researchers do that. Now, if I get an offer from one of the big researchers, like Paul Chafin, like Jody Cook, like I don't know, Nick Valente or something like that, or people that really do research in teams, then yeah, I'd love to go. You know what I mean? Because I
Mhm.
know that I'm with people that know what the fuck they're doing. You know what I mean? And not just me going out there trying to prove something that's really not worth proving. Actually, you know. Because
I hear you.
and I say that and I say that, and this is the first time I've ever talked about this, but I say that because a lot of shows, podcasters, they seem to think it's funny to say, well, there's a lot of people out there just behind the computer and they never go out, boots on the ground, and why don't they go out and do their own research and all that? I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to, but do they have the access to do it? That's different. Or do they rather just sit behind a computer and interview people, and think that that's another way of helping, the public, with awareness, right? Which is basically what I do. You know, I spread awareness, right, with my guests that I have on, because people in the chat, people in YouTube that never seen anything about cryptids, and it's their first time and they happen to stumble on my video or my podcast or my channel, and they're like, wow, I didn't know these things existed. Oh wow, okay, so this is what they do. Okay, so
Mhm.
this is what not to do. You're spreading awareness, and you're in a way you're helping people out. You know.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I just brought it. Sorry about that rambling,
No,
folks.
that's okay. That's what happens with
I
real
just
talking. You get off on
yeah
tangents.
yeah.
Um, is the other two cryptid sightings?
Yeah.
The one that was very brief, and it happened right around the same time that I had my Dogman encounters, or that same time frame, the junior or senior high school um, time. I remember there's an isolated beach that I like to go to all the time, and it butts up to Lake Michigan, and I love it. It's rare to run into a person down there. You can just kind of let loose and chillax. And I would take myself all the way up as far as I could walk. It was very normal for me. And sitting out there, I had a tendency to close my eyes and just take in the sounds of the lake and all that. And I remember the one day I was looking at the shale cliff, going, I wonder if I could flint knap that. And I
Hmm.
hear the splash behind me, and I turn around and I catch a midsection of something that is, for lack of better description, it came across as like a mer person.
Hmm.
Now, keep in mind, I'm seeing a midsection, right? I'm seeing from about uh, upper belly going down to where, if it had been a person, it would have been around the knee area with the way it was curving in. It's like it must have been out and started to dive in, I think is what that splash sound was. So I caught, like I said, like midriff, good portion down. And I know all the stories you hear about growing up, they're like depicting them with like human skin and then fish scales. But
Hmm.
it wasn't fish scales. It was very similar to an aquatic mammal. The skin was what the human flesh would be. It was, yeah, okay, it was like a pale, someone never gets any sun flesh color, fine. But when it came to the fish part, it was more mammal skin, like more like a porpoise or a dolphin. It was gray, but it had this burgundy undertone to it. It was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like I said, it was real brief. I've never managed to catch a glimpse of it again. And the woods that I used to go to actually has cliffs looking down, so I would try to look down into the water on the clear days to see if I could see anything swimming around too.
Right.
Never had a chance to catch a glimpse. That was such a tiny thing. I wish I had more information on it, but I've always written it off as a mer person. I have no proof of it. Never found any slides or anything to suggest, otherwise, but I don't know how else to classify it. If anybody else has heard anything that looks anything like that in Lake Michigan, I want to hear about it.
So
I want to know for sure what it was.
That's where your sighting was in Lake Michigan?
Yeah, it was Lake Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder what all types of creatures could be in there, right? I mean, I've never been there, but I imagine like like the Gulf of Mexico and Texas, right? It looks like the ocean, right? But it's just a Gulf. It's all enclosed. But it's so big that it looks like an ocean, right?
right.
So I'm thinking there in the Great Lakes that they're so big, like Lake Michigan. Which one's the other one? Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, right?
There's Huron,
Huron,
Ontario,
Ontario,
Michigan, Erie, and Superior.
Superior 5. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yep. The acronym is HOMES.
Oh.
HOMES.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, because all 5.
Really.
Okay, I got you. I'm like, Holmes. It didn't make sense, but I was like, oh, okay. Because
that's how they taught us to remember it in school around here when we were growing up.
Cool. All right, cool. So like I was saying about the lake, Michigan, I think is the biggest one, right? It looks so long.
Superior.
It looks so big. Is it Superior? Okay, okay. So it looks so long and it looks so big. It would look like. Does it look like an ocean when you're there?
I mean, you look across, and unless you're at the right spot, all you see is lake.
Right.
But I do believe that there's between waterways and whatever, there's a couple of narrow ones where you could actually follow it out to an ocean if you wanted to, if you had the right craft. But we're also talking about, regardless of whether it was or wasn't, you hear of like sharks going from the ocean all the way up the frickin' Mississippi. So why couldn't something come in that way and have been visiting and I didn't know it? But it's one of these things. When I was in middle school, I wanted to study sharks for a living, right? Become an oceanographer, study sharks. I was following Ron and Valerie Taylor at the time, who are big for their aquatic photography. And it's like, okay, cool. But even with all the studying that I did with being interested in the aquatics, I still can't pinpoint what that would have been. It's like, of course, when I was a kid, I loved the idea of Loch Ness, good old Nessie.
Yes, I love Nessie. When I grew up, man, I was like, man, I hope they get more pictures. I hope they prove it. I hope they catch him one day. You know what I mean?
No, I don't catch him with a photograph. I didn't want him to actually be caught. But then, you go north and you've got Lake Champlain and they've got Champ.
Yes, Champ at Lake Champlain.
So that's a lot closer to check out than Nessie.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because Lake Champlain is in New Hampshire, right? Vermont.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's in Vermont. It's in Vermont because I remember I interviewed gosh darn it, what's this the punkologist. Dang it, I forgot his name right now. I'm so sorry, guys, for that. Bettina, are you still here? Can you tell me the crypto punkologist's full name, please? If you're still here, B. I can't. I'm sorry. I forgot his name right now.
No, that's all right.
But yeah, he's got a book on it. Hold on. I don't know what I'm doing. Kenny W. Irish. I got his book right here. Kenny
Nice.
W. Irish. And he's got a book that says American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. And he talks about the like his main cryptid on here is Champ, from Lake Champlain.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, and I had him Sorry about that, Kenny. I had him on my show. Man, I can't remember what episode it was. Must have been like episode 12 or something like that. He was one of like the first ones. Me and Thomas Carter's had him, and he told us all about Lake Champlain. He told us all about Champ. He told us about the pictures, everything. It's awesome. I'm like, man, that's awesome, because it's kind of like Nessie, you know what I mean? But it's our, our home Nessie, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
Nessie, what is it? Scotland, right? Something like that.
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, but I was always when I was a kid, I was always intrigued with Nessie and all those plesiosaurus type
Yes.
cryptid
Yeah, and you remember watching Harry and the
aquatic
Hendersons.
cryptids. Yeah.
That for some reason that movie, even though I knew it was a movie and make believe, I was like, I think there's some credence to this Bigfoot thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so what are the other sightings that you had or
The only
paranormal?
one I don't think we've covered yet is then, and I talked to Lon Strickler about it because they had all those Mothman sightings
Mm-hmm.
last year over in Chicago.
Right.
And it was around the same time, and I reached out. I said, I don't know if this is connected or not. I just saw something really weird the other day, and that this was in July. It was like 7:30 in the morning. I had gotten home from working at a food plant. I worked night shift for 14 hours straight. I was taking the dog out to go to the bathroom before turning in for bed. And I looked up, and there I have church schools that I can see from my backyard, right? There's several of them in the area. I'm looking up at this one in particular. I'm like, that's a right nice gargoyle they have up there. I'm tired, right? So things aren't clicking right.
Right, right. So you didn't
It
notice,
didn't
yeah.
click at the time.
Hmm.
And I'm at work that night, and it hits me.
Hmm.
Wait, the school doesn't have gargoyles. So I race home the next day as soon as I can get out of work. And first thing I do, I'm like, come on, we're going outside. Dog's like, what crawled up your butt? You usually sit down for a few minutes. No, we're going outside. You've got to go potty. And I'm sure as shit, there's nothing up there. It looked like a gargoyle,
Hmm.
except instead of a bat wing, it had more like a bird wing. And it wasn't folded up. They had it like up and kind of tucked back as far as the wings go, so you could see the peak very easily. And this thing was like half squatted down, kind of fat, meaty looking thighs on the thing too.
Yeah.
And the thing, I mean, I thought I saw movement up there, and at the same point, I blew it off as a pigeon at the time. But who knows? Maybe it was adjusting the way it's sitting. I don't know. I've only seen it the one time. And for months afterward, I was taking my phone out with me. I'm like, I'm going to get a picture of this thing. I'm going to get a picture of this thing. Never came
Yeah.
back. At least not while I was home outside. Because I
Right.
was looking. I was definitely looking.
So when
So
you
my,
went back, it was gone.
yeah. And,
Like, what the
even more
hell?
surprising was I found
uh,
out there was one spotted not far from here back in the 90s.
really?
Yes. Um, some sort of gargoyle-ish thing was spotted over near a dam that we have that's like 5 minutes from my house. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
decided it was not Mothman, but
So
it was
it's
like
like
a
a gargoyle.
medium to dark gray stone looking thing. Never in my life would I have believed that I would ever see a gargoyle that was there and then it wasn't,
Right.
you know.
Wow.
And
That's
not scared of that either. I mean, I always grew up being told that gargoyles protected us from dark things, so they were always protective to me. I even ended up, buying a few of them to keep around the house. I got one for my yard that looks like a dog with angel wings. So I'm like, yeah, cool. This is my garden angel to represent my dogs. This is awesome. The thing stands 3 foot tall. The thing from the top of that building that I saw, just it looked huge on the building. I'm guessing if it looked that decently sized from where I was standing, it had to be like 7 foot
mm,
tall if it had been standing up straight and I was up there with it.
right.
It was definitely
Wow.
interesting.
Wow. Hey, well, Darcy, I think it's about our time to wrap it up tonight
Yeah, I
because
think
it is a
everybody's
weekday.
golden. It's a
You know,
weekday, yeah.
I was figuring like I kept seeing like people popping out and like, oh, it's a weekday. That's right. You know, it's like people are not used to staying up late during the week. So yeah.
I'm
So
not going to
yeah,
fight it because my bedtime's usually 8 o'clock. So
is it? Yeah. So yeah, oh yeah, Darkwood said that's interesting, Gargoyle. Yeah, you know what? I haven't heard too many encounters on gargoyles. Let me tell you that. I haven't. I've heard of everything, Goatman, everything, but not gargoyles. Not people actually seeing gargoyles. I would love to cover like a show about nothing but gargoyles and that type
that
of.
would be awesome.
Yeah, right. That'd be cool as shit. But yeah, Darcy, having said that, it's about time for us to wrap it up tonight. Is there any closing comments that you would like to add before we go?
I think something that we touched on when we were talking over a couple of nights that I just want to mention, regardless of whether you're doing paranormal investigations or cryptid, self protection is always important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, I mean, everybody thinks about physical protection, but they don't always think of psychic protection. Uh, and I don't care if you want to use the pillar of light, if you want to invoke the Holy Spirit, or call your angels, or call the corners, making sure that you're psychically protected when you're going out to deal with things.
Yeah.
Just because it looks like one thing doesn't mean it's not another. There's a lot of nasty stuff in this world that we don't even begin to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was part of that paranormal group, I had things follow me home that I had to cleanse and push out of this house that didn't belong here. I've been attacked by things I can't see. So
Mm-hmm.
always make sure you're working on developing a relationship with your high guides, your high angels, your totems, whatever it is you work with, just to keep yourself protected. Know what you
Right.
got to do.
Right.
Keep yourself, you know, whether you're smudging your personal space, using sound healing and clearing, chanting, whatever you got to do,
And that's
keep
that's
yourself safe.
yes, absolutely, Darcy. And you know what? That's why I brought this comment up from Marvin, my good buddy. Marvin Allen Dogman Encounters. He says, "Why do people see one of these creatures? No, why do people want to see one of these creatures if they hear the things that other people go through?" Which is a very good comment. Thank you, Marvin. Um, and that being said, what would be good because people are quick to want to go out there and see these creatures, like Marvin mentioned, but they don't know what they're getting themselves into, and they don't know how to protect themselves spiritually from these negative entities or whatever that's
Hmm.
out there in the woods. You know what I mean? Because we don't know. We're not 100% 100% sure that they're benevolent, but we're not 100% sure that they're bad either, right?
I think there's somewhere in between, and I think we have a mix, just like we do with
Yeah.
any species.
And you know what I think real quick, just touching up on this, I think that just like humans, and every other species, animal species in the world, there's good people and then there's bad people. There's good animals and
Exactly.
then there's bad animals. You've heard of the lions in Savo. Those were bad lions that like to just kill people. That story, right? From
Yeah.
the lions of Savo in Africa, that they were just killing and killing people because I think it was more territorial, even though they say that they had the spirits of ancestors, something that they didn't want that big bridge built there.
Right.
So they went into the lines and
They actually have a movie about that
spirits.
called
Yeah,
Ghost in the Darkness.
yeah, no, yeah. I love that movie. But I went back further, deeper, into the real story of the Lions of Savo. And it says that's what they think and out there in I don't know if it's Kenya or wherever that's Zimbabwe. But they think the locals there think that it's their ancestors that were killed, by sorry to say, but by white man or whatever, and they come back for revenge, and they manifested through lions, which that's why they could never find the lions, or they possessed the lions and their spirits got in the lions and went and killed all those people just for the fun of it. You know what I mean? So just bringing that back real quick, that's what I think that a lot of times we don't know because look. A lot of people, oh, I ran into a dog man like you yourself, right? And it just looked
Mhm.
at you and you just stared at it like in awe and you're just like, wow, you were curious and it never attacked you. That might have been a benevolent one, you know what I mean? Where
Right.
as to other people, it might have been a malignant,
Yeah,
and it did attack them or it did scare them or it did chase them off. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you never know what you might, find out there. You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
100%. And as far as why people want to go, you know, see these
Hmm.
things, one, you have no clue how terrifying it is to see one in person. Even people who are
Exactly.
friends with the clans
Yep.
say, even when they're coming forth peacefully, it's a terrifying thing to see. It takes a
Hmm.
while to work through. A lot of people end up with PTSD, but people aren't paying attention to that. They want to
Hmm.
prove they're macho. They want to prove they're brave. They
Yeah.
want to um,
Yeah. Yeah.
be able to
Exactly.
say they saw it. They want to actually, go in just to be scared. Some people get a thrill off of being scared all the time. So
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Some people, they want to be scared. They want to get scared, so that's why
yeah,
the
and they're
thrill,
all
like you
wrong
said.
reasons to be going and looking for these things.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that they don't know what they might end up encountering, and if that thing might end up chasing them and slashing them or whatever. You know what I mean? So I mean,
Right.
why would you put yourself in that situation? That's what uh, my good friend Marvin is trying to say. Like, why would they go out there if they know and they hear about the things these creatures do, right? So
A lot of people think they're going to be one person that it doesn't affect negatively.
right, they
They're
think
like,
that
oh, that
it's
won't
not going to
happen to
happen
me.
to
I'm like,
them.
okay, that's
Yes,
grade schooler attitude.
exactly. Thank
I
you.
know what I went through, and I know I want answers
Yes.
better than what I've come up with from just talking.
Yes.
I've had some physical injuries and lack of time that have kept me out of the field. I'm looking forward to getting back. But thanks to talking to people at the North American Dogman Project, I'm also going to be a lot smarter about going out in the woods, getting some gear put together to have in a backpack, trying to get other friends that are interested in cryptids coming out with me that I know are not going to panic and leave me there by myself should shit
Right.
go down, you know, all that kind
Right.
of thing. And that's important, you know. Will I go out for nature hikes? Yes. But they're probably just going to be small woods. They're not going to be national forests.
Right.
National
Exactly.
forests, I definitely want to have, other people there
Yes.
because
Exactly.
even if you remove the cryptids, even if you remove the animals, what happens if you fall down a slope that you didn't think you were going to slip at and you just broke something?
Mhm.
In a national forest, what are the chances somebody else is going to come through before you perish?
And then look what Darkwood said. He said one has to have an open mind to absorb what they see to stay in control, which is true.
Yes,
But not a lot of people have that power to keep control of their emotions when they see something that frightens them. You know what I mean? So and everybody has different reaction.
right. And, it was a lot of deep soul searching as to why was
Yeah.
I scared,
Yeah.
even though this thing
Yeah,
wasn't
why
doing
weren't you
itself
scared? And,
scarily.
and like I mentioned to you in our talk yesterday or the other day we had to talk because we had to that I see that women tend to be more non-threatening to the dogman or Bigfoot in this case, whichever one of these two. They seem not to get so scared as to a man. They get scared and automatically go into defense mode and automatically think, oh, this is my territory. You're not gonna run me out. I'm gonna kill you before you try to run me out. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
the no, I'm not saying being macho, but that's just our male, genes doing that, right? Where as female, they're not so aggressive. They're not so, I mean, you females, not so aggressive and not so threatening to them, So they change their demeanor when they see that you're not threatening to them as well. You know what I mean?
right.
And a
Yep.
guy is more threatening to them than a woman, right? So a guy they treat us different, like, oh, you want to go, let's go, kind of, I guess, and with the woman they're more like more docile. I think because I've heard a lot, many encounters of women, dogman encounters of women, and keeping their cool the whole time. I'm like, what in the hell? like
Well,
the like the
I think,
famous episode. I can't remember what number it is on Big Kind of Show where glass. It's a very famous one where a lady is in her glass house where where they keep pots and gardening and stuff.
Uh, uh,
You remember
Greenhouse.
that one? Do you remember that
I
one?
actually I haven't seen it. I'll
No?
have to look it
Oh,
up.
you got to look it up. Glass house. Just put glass house. Dogman encounters glass house and boom, it'll take you straight to it. This woman seen this thing right in front of the damn window, like body, everything. It was like 3 feet away from her through crystal clear, window or door, whatever you want to call it, glass window, glass door, whatever. Like that would have scared the shit out of me, like because I know, half-inch window's not gonna hold in, or hold out a creature this frightening. You know what I mean? But a woman was she's just like she said she describes it. It's like I was just looking at him, and he was just looking at me, and I was staring at him, and he was staring at me like, what the hell? I would have been gone, man. She's sitting there describing this thing like all calm and everything.
At this
Uh,
point, I'd probably wave at it. Hey, how you
yeah,
doing?
yeah, there you go. See, that's what I'm saying. Why do women see these creatures differently than men? Yeah, that's my
It could be the nurturing instinct in women.
yeah,
It could be, I don't, there could be 1,000 reasons. I'm someone that I'd rather face my fear. I don't like to let fear control me. Education is one of the best ways to um, not be
right,
scared because we fear
yeah,
what we don't understand.
right,
And that's
yes,
exactly why I felt scared when I was younger. Is after all that self-reflection and all those years of delving, why? It's like because I was seeing something that wasn't supposed to exist, and that scared me. Because I
yes,
had to admit that something that I was told was truth
right,
was wrong.
right.
It
Thank
wasn't
you.
the animal, it was facing a real truth. So, it's like I want answers, but I keep putting out to the universe, I want answers that are safe. I,
Right.
I don't want to encounter this unless it's safe for me to do so,
Right.
you
And like
know?
exactly. And like I was telling you on our pre-interview, talk that we had, I was telling you that, that when I was a kid, the scariest out of all of them, vampires, whatever, the scariest creature to me growing up was a werewolf. And that's funny because now I cover it, I investigate it, and that was the thing that scared me most when I was a kid. But I grew up thinking that because everybody said no, they're not real. You're just because I used to even have nightmares, because I watched The Howling,
Okay.
1 and 2. I watched, and I was only like, say, a good 7 years old. And would you let your, if you had a kid watch, The Howling, when he was 7 years old, 6, 7 years old? I don't think you would, right? I don't think anybody would really. But that's where that comes into play. Where I was telling you, we had all that freedom back in the '80s, and so they would, they would put movies and like Halloween movies. That too, Halloween is the one that gets me the most. Halloween, that's the only one. Till this day, I cannot watch Halloween by myself at night
I've never
with
watched that.
nobody. I can't
I
do
I
it.
was the
Can't
Nightmare
do
on
it.
Elm Street kid though.
Nah, I laugh at night. I laugh at Nightmare on Elm Street. I laugh at Jason. I laugh at all of them. Freddy Krueger. I laugh at everybody except Michael Myers. I can't because that face that he just keep that what is it called, the no
Mask.
expression, no expression face that he just keeps coming at you, and even if you stab him or shoot him, whatever, he still looks the same and he still tries to come after you. It's like, well, anyway,
I
I don't
don't
want to
do
make
the
it too
horror
long,
movies so much because there's really twisted,
but
fucked up people like
yeah,
that in real life. So I'm like, nah, I can't take enjoyment out of this at all.
yeah. But that being said, it's like it's how do you say, ironic that werewolves was the thing that scared me most as a creature when I was growing up. Not vampires, not none of that. But it was werewolves, right? So I'm like, oh man, plug in my computer because I don't want it to go off on me while I'm live. And so yeah, so and now I cover it, and now that's like the most interesting topic that I cover, right? Of course, we cover Bigfoot, Dogman, mermaids, anything, skinwalkers, everything, anything and everything, right? But that's the one that intrigues me the most. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because that's what used to scare me the most. And they always told me no, it's fake, and then come 2015 or 16, when I find out that they are real astro, I'm like, what the hell? I thought they were fucking, just made up or whatever. They're, you know, and then I started running into all these Dogman, channels on YouTube. I was like, what the hell? So these fucking things are real? I thought they were real. You know what I mean?
Well, except
And it just
werewolves.
blew
That's a person
my
transforming into this bipedal
right,
wolfish creature.
right,
These dogmen, they're
right,
they're that way all the time. They're not
right.
something
No,
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
transforming. So I mean, still
yeah.
technically they're two different things, but
Yeah, but they
their
scare you the
primal
same. You know what I mean?
reaction is usually pretty
Yeah,
similar.
cause I go.
I saw someone was asking what my friends and family think of the.
Oh yeah, let me put that up real quick.
Um,
Anoraks, yeah.
I think half of them don't know how to take me, and the other half have started to accept the fact that I really saw this and I'm not having an overactive imagination.
Yeah, yeah,
Regardless,
yeah,
I really don't have a lot of people to talk to about it. So when Carlito reached out asking
yeah.
about my
About
profile
your
image and we got to
encounters,
talking,
yeah,
he asked me to come on a show. I'm like, yeah, cool. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah. By the way, guys, if y'all know Darcy on Facebook, she's got her dog laying over like this, kind of weird looking, and she's got it to where it looks like a damn werewolf or a dog man or something. And I asked her, I said, "Is that a dog man? What is that on your?" She's like, "No, that's my dog." Like, what? So she sent me a blow up picture. She says, "This is an original picture. I just made it to look like that." I'm like, "What? That's crazy."
Yeah,
But
my
it's her
Freya,
dog.
who's passed away, she was all black. Everybody always commented how she looked like a little wolf or a little bear. And she had these huge teeth, right? Everybody said they were coon killing teeth. And I'd get her all worked up, and I'm like, I love seeing those huge teeth. So I try to get a picture of it the one day. And as luck would have it, we got the yellow eye flash from the flash going off on the camera. And she looks so vicious. I'm like, damn, if I had the right setting, you look like a werewolf. And then
Mm.
a few years after she passed, they have those skins going around on Facebook for Halloween. I said, "Oh, I can lay that over that photo and it's perfect. I've left it up ever since I did it."
Yeah, yeah. So that's a little inside intel. If you guys didn't know about that about me, that yeah, Halloween. No, can't watch it. Not by myself, especially not at night. I can watch it in the day all day, but I can't watch it at night because then my mind starts playing tricks on me. I go outside, smoke a cigarette. I'm constantly looking around the corner of my house, see if the damn white face don't come out like this with a jumping suit. You know
There's
what
a
I
couple
mean?
episodes of X Files that did that to me.
Yeah. And werewolf movies too. They scared the shit out of me. Like I said, those and American Werewolf in London. American Werewolf in Paris was different. It was a little bit more funny. It had more. But the one in London, that was the original '80s one, and that one they did it where it was very intense and very suspense. How do you say?
Suspenseful?
Yeah, there you go, suspenseful. There you go. You know how they used to make the movies back in the '80s, right? Really, really suspenseful
Oh yeah,
with
the
with
music
creepy
like did
music,
it
ding
all for
ding,
you.
ding ding, ding ding. Like yeah, they're like God. You see a killer going at somebody and ding ding, ding ding. You know what I mean? That shit was suspenseful. That shit drove me crazy. Now I just laugh at them. You know what I mean? Like Texas, all the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. I just laugh at him. Rob Zombie's Halloween's the new ones, 1, 2, and 3. I guess he's got now. I don't know. I just blow that away. But the Scar Carpenter from 1970, that one gets me. Yeah. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up now. Thank you everybody for showing up, guys. Thank you everybody that
Yeah,
stuck around to
I
the end.
appreciate it. It was great.
Yes, you had a lot of good comments, Darcy. They were like,
I
great,
know,
great
bless their hearts.
guests.
I'm
Yeah,
honored,
yeah.
this being my first live podcast to have that many positive comments.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody
It's a
enjoyed
true
it.
honor, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody enjoyed it. Most of the people commented it before they left. They're like, "Great show tonight. I gotta go. Bedtime, whatever." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool, man. Go ahead. Thanks for coming." But yeah, everybody was great tonight. You know, the people in the chat. And oh, I got a quick question for Darcy. He says, do you think natives have a higher chance of encounters and involvements with dogmen since these creatures are always seen around native burial grounds and cemeteries?
I think more so than is it that they're native having a higher chance. I believe it. You run into a lot of natives who they're looking to keep a lot of their traditions alive,
Uh huh.
keep their heritage alive, and part of that heritage is being connected to not only our natural world, but the spirit world as well. They talk about their ancestors and the connection to everything,
Right.
and that connection, having a connection to those other planes of existence that they were dealing with for a long time. Their tribes have uh, oral histories of these creatures living alongside them
Right.
over the years before white man invaded.
I agree.
I believe that connection is what makes it more prone to seeing versus the fact that they're just Native Americans. I believe it's the Native Americans who are still connected to their heritage and trying to keep the old ways alive in a lot of respects.
Mhm.
I was having a conversation with a fellow Reiki practitioner just the other month, and we're debating, why some people see cryptids more easily than others. And I liken it to, how some people have better color vision, they can pick up different hues that are a lot more subtle than other people.
Mhm.
I think the same can be said for certain people. They just have an easier time seeing the different wavelengths of light and picking up on the different planes of existence compared to the average person.
Mhm.
So those people that are seeing those planes and other waves of light easier are also picking up on those cryptids easier because they're existing in those realms that a lot of us are close down to.
Mhm.
Hopefully that made some sense to
Yeah,
people.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And like Darkwood said, it says, I also think if a person is in the woods a lot, chances get higher seeing the dogman. So yeah,
I think that's a
that makes total
pretty
sense.
good
Yes.
bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So okay, well, thank you for answering that question,
Absolutely.
Darcy, and thank you guys for being here tonight, man. I wish I didn't have to go. I could go on for another 2 hours, man.
Oh,
I'm
easily. You
good,
you and I
easy,
talked for 4 hours straight the
easy.
other night.
Yeah.
I think the only reason we stopped is because it was
Yeah,
you
it was
we had
late.
we had to be up for work in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, it was late. It was already like what 11, 12 at night or
No, I
something,
think we
or
got
was
off
it
the
more?
phone at 1:30 in the morning.
1:30. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah, it was late or
yeah,
early, depending how you look at it.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, yeah. Like I said, a week ago, but no, it's a weekday, and I know people get tired of during one sit down and listen to one show. So yeah, I get it. You know what I mean. So we're just gonna go ahead and wrap it up tonight, guys, and thank you all once again for being here tonight with me and Darcy, listening in and being part of the show, asking your questions. Thank you very much, everybody. Hey, Richard Reed and Richard Brown that came in at the end, and Firewolf. Thank you, Firewolf, for subscribing. Thank you, brother. And we'll be here for next show, waiting for you, man.
And I'm
Um,
sure there's lots of people that have been watching and because of whatever issues
yeah,
weren't able to comment. And thank you to all you guys too. Even if we don't know you're there, we still appreciate you coming in. And I know when I try to
yeah,
go on to the YouTube channel,
right. Yeah,
even though I've got a thing set up, it will not let me log in to,
yeah,
type a freaking word when I'm watching the YouTube videos. So I know
right,
you guys are out there too, even if we don't hear you.
right. Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier before we started the show. Being a weeknight, we can't really stay up too late because people get tired, they got to go to work. So we get it. That's fine. We're cool with that, guys. Thank you for being here, like we said earlier. And I guess with this, we'll just conclude tonight's show. Darcy, what do you think?
That works.
All
It's
right.
it. I'm turning into a pumpkin, but it was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Richard Reed said, I got in late, man. Yeah, brother. If you can go back and listen to the show. Sorry, I didn't let you know that I was gonna be live tonight, man. Actually, I apologize for that. But yeah, if you can go back and catch it from the beginning, man, it was very interesting, Richard. And you can just leave comments on the bottom of the video, and I'll gladly go back and answer any questions for you, buddy. Okay, don't want to leave you out, man. Okay, and Richard Brown also same thing. If you have any questions, man, just leave them down on the comments, and I'll personally go in there and answer them for you. Okay. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and close out tonight's show.
Yeah,
And
thanks so much,
Darcy,
guys. Have a great night.
yes, Darcy, thank you very much for being here tonight. It's an honor for
Thanks for
me,
having
a Dogman eyewitness from Wisconsin,
the
to being here
the
tonight.
real state.
Yeah, that's like a big hot spot for Dogman. We know that.
It
That
is.
and
I want to
that
move north where it's more active, actually.
right? Really? Wow. Oh man, you're crazy. And so is what Michigan, right? Michigan's real close to you,
Yes,
man.
yes, our sister state,
Michigan
Michigan, is
Dogman.
definitely highly active, and
Yeah,
actually,
Michigan.
Minnesota is kind of like getting up
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Maine's having more activity lately,
yeah.
so I'm gonna tell Dogman. Of course, you've got your Sabe Sasquatch hotspots, your Dogman hotspots, and then
Yes,
I don't even
yes.
know where all the hotspots are for the other stuff.
Yeah, I know
There's
it.
so
I
many to
know
keep up with.
it. Well, Kentucky's a big hotspot,
Yeah, LBL and all
LBL,
that.
yeah. Tennessee's a hotspot, yeah. Pennsylvania. So yeah. Well, hey, somebody mentioned that maybe we should next time we have you, that if we could talk about your paranormal encounters. What do you think
Oh
about
god,
that?
yeah. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been dealing with the paranormal since I was what? Steal a J.K. Rowling line, knee high to a bull truckle. I mean, I was
Right.
picking up on them things when I was too young to know what the hell was going on. So,
Right.
and then as you
Right.
get older and you start, yeah, that could definitely be a whole show in it. So,
Yes.
and maybe
Exact.
I'll hear back from the group I was with and find out if I got their permission to use their name on the air or not.
Yeah.
I think he'd be okay with it,
I
but
think it would, but you would have to get with them first, right?
yeah, I just in
Yeah.
case. I just always
Yeah.
like to
Just
double
in
check.
case.
So
Yeah. I think it would though. I honestly do. They're good people over there. So okay. All right. Yeah. Well. Thanks everybody. Like I said, Dark Woods. Thank you for all your participation tonight, man. Thank you very much. Primal Cry. Thank you also. Uh, Richard B. Richard Reed. Everybody that stuck around. Anthony Ant Rocks. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. And we're gonna see y'all next week. I'm thinking of having my next show this coming Saturday, guys, which is what 3 days from now. So stick around for that, man. Keep an eye out on my post. I might not. I don't know, but I'm wanting to do it this Saturday. I'll let y'all know on the group though for sure. All right. Well, see you guys next time, man, and thank y'all for coming over, man. Thank you. Peace out,
night.
everybody. Thank you, Darcy. You have a good night, okay?
Thanks, you too.
All right. All right. See you guys
Bye.
later. See you guys on the next one. Peace out.